Howdy, and welcome to LeeReads, where I talk about the books I've been reading and enjoying lately. I don't follow awards lists too closely, but I do like to glance at the Nebula Awards and the Hugo Awards shortlists when I see them announced. I was pleasantly surprised to see that this year, for the Hugo novel shortlist, I had already read half of the novels on the list, and I was interested in reading the rest of them. I decided to see which of the ones I hadn't read yet I would be able to pick up, and since then I've read one and I'm halfway through another one and I just need to get my hands on the last one. So I wanted to come and talk about the shortlist for the Hugo Awards, my prediction for who might win, which of these I enjoyed and might recommend, etc. It seems like a lot of the list was up my alley this year. I actually own 2 of the books. These are not going to be a surprise to anyone who has watched my channel much recently. The first is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is a speculative fiction that is comped as a Watson and Holmes-esque mystery in a fantastical world. I have a standalone review of this one because I did really enjoy it. I recently read the sequel, and I do think that the strength of the story is less in the mystery element and more in the world building and some of the characterizations. But it's a really interesting crossover novel between speculative fiction and mystery. I think that readers of either one could enjoy this book, but really, especially because of the world building, the people who enjoy science fiction, fantasy, and horror, I think, would especially enjoy it. The other on the list that I own is A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. This is one that definitely has a horror bent to it. It's about a young girl named Cordelia whose mother is a sorceress who has her own interests at heart, and trying to get what she wants, she is willing to manipulate and harm those around her, including her own daughter, Cordelia. She makes her become obedient in a sense where she takes over Cordelia's body and controls what she says and how she moves, and Cordelia can't stop it. And when her mother sets her eyes on this friendly minor nobleman, the nobleman's spinster sister, Hester, realizes right away that something is off about Cordelia's mother. She's bad news, and starts trying to look out for Cordelia and protecting her brother. Meanwhile, Cordelia is trying to protect this family from her mother, and the fantastical horror elements go from there. Like much of T. Kingfisher's writing, it has its dark and its humorous sides, and I think what's done really, really well here is the characterizations, especially Cordelia. Even though she's a younger girl, I really found myself empathizing with her and feeling connected to her. But I also really enjoyed Hester, I think, is the name of the minor nobleman's sister, who is considered a spinster, and so everyone just disregards her because she's an older woman. But really, she's very clever and subtly works to undermine Cordelia's mother. The other one that I had already read that I don't own is Alien Clay by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This one is science fiction, and it deals a lot with revolution and politics and the state that's monitoring its people. The main character is actually a political dissident that is sent to a prison planet with the intention of just laboring away for kind of the state until he dies. And when he gets to this prison planet, he has to deal with the continuing politics of it all, not only kind of surviving the machinations of his fellow inmates and their guards, but the planet itself seems like it's trying to kill them, and he has to go out into this very dangerous, weird world in order to do some of their work. He was an anthropologist or biologist by trade and is very, very intrigued by the life of this world and the archaeology that's on this world. So all those sorts of aspects mixed together in this standalone story. Moving on to the 3 that I hadn't read when I read the list, but I've since read some of them. Someone You Can Build a Nest In. This is fantasy horror, again with the horror crossover. It's told from the perspective of a monster who is awakened to find some monster hunters trying to kill her. And as she is surviving this, the monster is reflecting upon how it is alone because monster hunters have killed off its family. But it's reaching a point in its maturity where it really feels compelled to lay its eggs. Early on in the course of the story, it finds a person that it falls in love with, or the biology of thinking that this person would be a good nest for the eggs kind of kicks into high gear. And even though this person is part of this whole mission to kill the monster, which is the main character, this monster feels compelled to protect this person as the relationship grows. It starts tackling like the horror of like, but I think I love this person. I think they would be a good person to lay my eggs in, but by doing that, I'll kill this person. And it was a very humorous take on these sorts of topics. So if you want a little bit of dark humor and a very engaging story, I can see why it's on the list. It also deals a lot with topics of abuse from family and people who should love you, and like how that affects a person and how it drives their actions. One that I have since picked up and I'm halfway done with is The Ministry of Time. I've actually had this on my library holds for a while, and I kept just delaying, and finally it's like, no more delaying, just read the book. This is contemporary, but it involves time travel. It's set in England, and the Ministry of Time has come up with this technology where they were able to isolate a figure in history who was going to die, and they bring them forward to the present day. The main character is a bridge, or the person who's supposed to cohabitate with this expat, they call them expat from time, and kind of teach them about modern ways, how to survive in modern times. The experiment is just to see, do they survive? What happens to their minds, their bodies? What the Ministry of Time intends to do with this experiment and this knowledge. The main character is not sure, and every time she asks, she's not told. So she is paired with this naval commander from the late 1800s, I think. He was on ill-fated Arctic missions where the ships got iced in and everyone died. He was brought forward to the present day and is struggling to adapt to the world. One thing this novel is really talking about so far is a sense of identity and culture, because the main character themselves is of a Cambodian British heritage, and how that changes their perspective, how their mother, who was considered a foreigner, is viewed by what she would call her culture. So that's a lot of discussions on that. So it's a lot deeper than, you know, I've heard some people say it's like Kate and Leopold, the rom-com movie. This is not really rom-com. There's maybe a hint that it might become a romance, but it's really more of a thriller, because there's some stuff going on that's very suspicious with the project. I don't know what it all is yet because I'm only halfway done, but I'm very engaged by this story, and I find myself I continue to think about it, and I want to keep reading it. It's also really fun to see the perspectives of, so there was 5 expats that were brought to the modern times, and they range from periods from the 1600s up through World War I. So even amongst themselves, there is huge culture differences based on what time they came from. So I think it's a really cool novel so far. The last that I haven't read yet, and I'm kicking myself because I did have this from the library last year, and I didn't read it, and I ended up returning it, is Service Model by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Another Adrian Tchaikovsky. My understanding about this novel is it follows a service robot that, I don't know if it's an accident or not, but kills the human who owns it, and then kind of goes out on an adventure from there. Of course, it made me think of Murderbot. I don't think it's going to be the same. So right now I have holds on that through like all of the libraries that I use. I heard that Adrian Tchaikovsky narrates the audiobook, so I'd really like to listen to that. Even though I really like Adrian Tchaikovsky's writing, I didn't want to just rush out and buy the novel because I wasn't sure if it was one that I would love. So I guess we'll find out. If y'all have read it, please let me know your thoughts about it. I'm hoping that I will be able to read it pretty soon, in the next week or two, like before all of the ballots close. I don't think I'm eligible to actually vote in the Hugo. I don't know what the rules are. But out of all of the ones I've read so far, what do I think is going to win? Alien Clay feels very topical. I don't think the Tea Kingfisher will win, even though I was charmed by it. I really like Ministry of Time, and it might appeal to a wider audience because it's set in contemporary. I really liked The Tainted Cup, but it also is very weird, so that might turn people off. I think if I was just going to guess, and I haven't really looked up the reviews on these books, if I was just going to guess based on what I thought might appeal to the most people, I would probably say Ministry of Time, although I haven't even finished it yet, so who knows, this could be horribly wrong. Or Alien Clay. So I guess we'll find out. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Have you read Service Model? What did you think? Did you think I would like it? I love Murderbot. And any of these other books, have you read them? What were your thoughts? I think that this is a pretty strong group. And the thing that a lot of them have in common is like cross genre. Like they're not solidly fantasy, science fiction, or horror. There are a lot of elements that I think draw people from all sorts of different genres. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that I inspired you to go check out one or more of these books. And as always, don't forget to support your local library. Thanks. Bye.